This project has been a long time coming. The America's Wetland Foundation started the movement toward coastal, informing the American public about our needs in coastal restoration 15 years ago. This project is a new breed of activities in Louisiana for three reasons. One, it's a very unique partnership where we're bringing together a corporation, a supplier of native plants, and a foundation, the America's Wetland Foundation, to partner with LSU Sea Grant, all the Sea Grant colleges around the Gulf Coast, and the Rotary. And so we have civic, we have corporate, we have nonprofit, education, and we're working with innovative products by RES, and we're working in a site that is very, very necessary to be restored, that was not on the state's master plan.
Resource Environmental has a nursery here in Pointe-aux-Chenes, and we've done work in Louisiana over the last 10 years restoring our coasts. So we've worked very closely with American Wetlands Foundation over the years, and it turns out that BHP is one of our largest clients that we've done work for over the last 5 years.
What makes this particular program unique?
Well, what makes it unique is for the first time we really have a corporation that's doing more than just what they need to do. They're doing a little bit of community outreach here. They're helping restore our area, and they're working very closely with the community and volunteers to do that. And we're here helping them put this all together.
Well, it's a beautiful day in America's Wetland, and we're happy that everyone's here to be with us. This project has been a long time in the making, and we're very, very excited to launch this project with our partners, BHP and RES, and our civic partners who are here also. And we will hear from each of our partners in just a second. As a pretext, we see, and we've talked about this project as the launch of a new breed of coastal restoration solutions. And by that, we can look at the old metaphor of a three-legged stool. One is partnerships, and what we have learned over the course of the foundation is that nothing happens singularly when there's a big challenge that we face. And not only does an NGO like America's Wetland Foundation have to be in the mix, but you need the private sector represented, and you must have a good producer of a final product that is science-based, and in that we have become partners with RES and are very pleased to be here. Take just a moment to thank all the folks at RES who prepared the site, who brought us on a site visit, protected us from the snake and the alligator we passed. And what I would also like to say about RES is that this is like America's Wetland Foundation, a homegrown project. I grew up in Terrebonne Parish, not South Terrebonne, only Terrebonne High, so don't hold that against me. But we have really looked at how we can restore these wetlands using not only native species, but also our own people to do the research and to give back to their communities. And so the partnerships is really critical. We add Sea Grant to this project from every state in the Gulf Coast today, and the Rotary. The E-Rotary Club is here today, and Rotarians from around the Gulf Coast are going to be working with us on this project as we move forward, and we're very, very excited about that partnership. Innovation is the second leg of this stool, and teaming up with RES has taught us a lot about how to save the coast. They're not new to this. They've been working in this nursery that you see here to put plants back into service for the wetlands. And we have a bent in our foundation for natural restoration activities to save the coast. We think it's the only way that we're actually going to save the coast. And the projects you'll hear about today is a great innovation and provides conservation and restoration activities that will last for the long term, not just the short term. And finally, this is the soft announcement of the Conservation and Restoration Registry for America's Wetland Foundation. These two projects will sit at the top of the new registry, which will be a volunteer program for the private sector to go back a few years and add projects in acreage, the cost that they have donated, and the amount of carbon sequestered from these projects. The registry will tie in to the Texas Coastal Exchange in Texas, which is a carbon registry that's working more on farm and prairie lands. And so with those three legs, and we will announce formally the registry in the fall, we hope that the private sector can fill the gaps and do innovative, offensive programs to restore this coast like we haven't before. And of course, all of this is done in cooperation with the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority of Louisiana and consistent with the master plan. And Charles, I'm glad you're here, and other representatives from CPRA today. I'd like to call on our board member, Berwick Duval, who represents the America's Wetland Foundation. His family grew up here also. They've stomped through these swamps when they were here and healthy, and he is an avid hunter and fisherman, as are many of the people in this area. And Berwick will let you know why the America's Wetland Foundation is in this game. Berwick.
Thank you, Val. I'm here on behalf of King Milling, our chairman, who asked me to send his regards to everybody here today. And I promised somebody would say at the end of the day, as King would say, it is all about the wetlands. And today marks a milestone for America's Wetlands Foundation, making true on a promise that we made over 5 years ago on Avery Island at an event hosted by the Tabasco folks. We sought to determine more aggressive ways to pursue private sector engagement in restoration, and the foundation has worked hard to engage that private partnership in funding of coastal restoration and urgency that comes with that. We have been concerned that certain episodes of coastal erosion may go unattended, such as the case with the Gulf Intercoastal Waterway just a few miles from here. Without attention, this waterway, which is second in tonnage only to the Mississippi River, has become a line of demarcation between salt and freshwater estuaries. This line of demarcation is losing the battle to saltwater intrusion, and shorelines have been compromised. Saltwater enters the freshwater marsh, resulting into the destruction of the freshwater estuary. Not far from here, in La Rose, America's Wetlands found a willing landowner and gathered $1 million in private contributions to undertake a project to use restricted plastic mesh products and plants from this very nursery to establish 1 mile of land in a demonstration of the innovative technology developed here for bank stabilization on the Gulf Intercoastal Waterway. Today, 3 years later, that demonstration has become a successful case where shoreline, without the benefit of the project, has eroded 10 feet farther from the protected shoreline that we have today. So it's been an outstanding success and a demonstration of how the partnership can work. And let me say this, having reviewed many restoration budgets over the years, this $1 million for 1 mile was a true bargain of efficiency and effectiveness, constructed in less than 8 months. So now here we are in Terrebonne Parish, where my family, as Val said, for generations have lived. I was telling Dirk Guidry earlier that I grew up more in the 4 Point area, just a few miles from here, fishing and hunting off of By Sally. I hate to go there now because where my family camp used to be before Hurricane Andrew destroyed it, the area is gone. And it's very depressing to go there and see places where my childhood memories were formed no longer exist. And that's why I'm so proud of America's Wetlands and what we have done and what we are doing here with RES and BHP today. Terrebonne used to be one of the fastest growing parishes, and it's taken on signs of retreat lately. While residents have voted here in Terrebonne to tax themselves, to build levees to protect ourselves, because, let's face it, the federal government hasn't stepped up to the plate to do so. We're very proud of our local government and the fact that we have taxed ourselves and built the protective levees. But when you look, as many of you may have seen today, to the south of those levees, the marsh is deteriorating at a very rapid rate, and it's very alarming to those of us who call this place home. So that gets us to where we're standing, literally on ground zero of the Coastal Restoration Challenge. And let's talk a little bit about our partners. If you read about BHP, our global partner in today's initiative, you will find the term biodiversity in its corporate social responsibility mission statement. It has been a leader in defining and acting on community resiliency. And the host of the news event today, RES, has been diligent in applying science and technology to restoration solutions. This partnership is remarkable in that no one of these partners could take on the project alone. But together, we stand here to make a case that there is a significant benefit that can come from private companies and non-governmental groups working together. So as you hear about these two projects today, know that more is possible. A company who has concerns about our native populations, our ecosystems, and our community, which is home to their employees, is providing a benefit to us. A company who has invested in restoration as a primary core of their business and has its nursery here, which is quite impressive, can be proud that their innovative products will add to our diversity. And the America's Wetlands Foundation can now take the next step to create a registry of private sector projects, as Val just talked about, to lessen the risk for private companies to enter the restoration arena and to demonstrate the effectiveness of partnerships that can truly make a difference to our community, state, and our nation. So we applaud this work and are dedicated to doing what it takes to stop the land loss, and we look forward to future partnerships with our partners in private corporations and other NGOs. Thank you.
Thank you, Berwick. Thank you. Thank you, Berwick. The last part that Berwick mentioned was the relationship with other organizations, NGOs, that have been in this area. This particular space is surrounded by work that has been done by many NGOs in partnership with RES and with other sponsors. And so building on to the existing projects and then adding a new project, a new layer, is something that's extremely important, I think, for all of us to do in the private sector. We are working together to make a difference and have the private sector respond to this challenge. We met Elliot Bouillon, who's a native of Kaplan, Louisiana, and Lafayette, a long time ago, and he's spoken at many of America's wetland programs. We learned about the work he was doing here, but also nationally with ecosystem value and in restoration. And you've become a partner ever since you, I know, spoke at the Tabasco meeting that we had. And we're very pleased to announce that this is our first formal partnership of many. Elliot, and thank you for having us here.
Oh, yes, you bet. Hey, it's a proud day for RES to have you guys out here. Normally, our heads are down, and we're working hard, so we don't get to stand up too much here planting. I could say today I'm very proud, and also I'm kind of reflective about my Cajun culture. I grew up in New Iberia, to make sure everybody knows that. But part of the Cajun culture is really bringing people together. I can remember at our fish camp when we would bring my dad's buddies together. They were always great people, and today I'm really proud, and it's a joy of life to bring together American Wetlands, who's just a wonderful organization that I love, and BHP, that's been a great client of RES, and bringing everybody together to do this project. So to give you a little idea about RES, we were formed about 10 years ago with a real passion of building a private company that was going to actually go out and do more green. So we're going to make a little money, but we're going to do a lot more green, and we've done that. We are now a national company that specializes in wetlands right here where we started. We expanded into stream restoration, to endangered species, into water nutrients and water quality throughout the United States. So right now, we've got offices in about 18 states. We've got about 8 more opening up. And we started all this in Louisiana, and we got going, and we used a lot of practices that we learned here to grow and do great things. I think today, what's unique about today is we have a corporate citizen, BHP, that is really going out and doing what we call in Louisiana lagniappe, something extra, okay? They didn't have to do it, right? They're doing it, which is fantastic. And we learned growing out that little extra is what makes a difference in life. And they're doing that here. So we're part of helping them build their corporate sustainability out there. And what it really is called is corporate social responsibility. And we're going to see more and more companies throughout the United States do more than what's required, more than what is in compliance. And they're going to work with their local communities, and they're going to do more community outreach. And that's what this is about. And we're going to get volunteers involved, and we're going to get people involved. And you know what happens when we do that? We educate folks, okay? And we all learn. All of us learn, and we do more. This project has two components that are just fantastic. Number one, we're building terraces on our Terrebonne property, and we're going to build some cypress stands that are going to really protect our coast for real. And we're building it right in the middle of a bunch of dead cypress trees, okay? And we're gonna be very proud of this 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We're going to use the best technology that we have. We have some planting technologies we've developed over the last 10 years that really has helped our survivability. And we've also been able to harden our products with this good salt water that we get so much of around here. So, and then we've worked with NRCS right down the road, LSU, and we've done a lot of scientific work and DNA testing in our plants. So Res is really a committed company to really being innovative, to finding ways to make things happen. And this is what we're doing here today. So I'm very proud of this. I'm extremely proud of BHP for doing this for my state, and I'm very proud of American Wetlands Foundation. So what I think we need to do is we need to get more people involved. We need a few more people at the duck camp, invite them over, and we need to keep improving our Louisiana. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much, Ellie, for hosting us. When we first went to BHP with Res, it was quite an eye-opener for us. And I think the biggest part of the eye-opener was the number of people in the room who worked for various parts of the company, and their dedication to their mission of biodiversity. And it's written all over the company. And we're so happy, I guess, that one, you're here in Louisiana and working toward your own company's benefit, but more importantly in this setting, working toward the benefit of these communities that are desperately challenged in the future. We're very happy to have Kristen Ray, who's General Manager of the Gulf of Mexico Production Unit for BHP, with us, and we look forward to a long and growing relationship. Kristen.
So thanks for that. And while I have to say that home for me is East Baton Rouge Parish, I will say that I grew up in Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes. I've witnessed firsthand what the impacts of coastal erosion can do to the communities. So it's very much an honor for me to be a part of a company who wants to help my home communities as well. So with that, thank you all for taking time out of your day to be here with us this afternoon. BHP, for those of you who don't know us, we're the 4th largest producer in the U.S. Gulf of Mexico, and we're committed to partnering with our communities in which we operate. We put health, safety, and environment first. We're environmentally responsible. We respect human rights and support our host communities. As someone, as I said, was born in South Louisiana, I'm especially proud of my commitments that BHP has made in ensuring an improved quality of life for those who work, live, and play near our assets. Here in Louisiana, Terrebonne Parish is one of those communities. Today, we are thrilled to be partnering with America's Wetlands Foundation on the Terrebonne Biodiversity and Resiliency Project to deliver restoration and conservation outcomes that will create lasting value for Louisiana communities. The project, a $3 million investment over 6 years, will have 3 components. 2 components are restoration projects that will restore and enhance biodiversity in the areas of community and environmental significance. Third component is the establishment of the Conservation and Biodiversity Register and Alliance to better connect the private and public sector and create partnerships and a place where people can come together and collaborate together to solve Louisiana's environmental challenges. At BHP, building strong, long-standing, sustainable relationships is integral to who we are as a company. As a partner in South Louisiana, we understand the significance to our stewardship of this environment, the continued need to support our local cultures and economic development. We're excited to announce this project today and look forward to seeing the great work of America's Wetlands Foundation and RES through the execution of the Terrebonne Diversity and Resilience Project. In closing, I would like to personally thank a few people who are really the horsepower behind making this day possible. Val Marmillion with AWF, Aaron Revere and Elliot Bouillon with RES, and Sarah Daniel with BHP. I also look forward to hearing from you of how I can use my position within the private sector to help you further your cause, your mission, and projects.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much, Chris. We're also pleased to have a member of the local parish council here, Dirk Guidry. I know this is home for you, so if you could come back and come up and tell us a little bit about what the project means to your constituents. Dirk Guidry.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I'm Dirk Guidry. I'm probably the only real good Cajun down here. I speak French. I know we might have a couple of them that speak a little bit French, but, you know, I was raised and born on Chauvin, Louisiana. I know a few of y'all went tour down there a little bit earlier. But the area that y'all went tour at happens to be my backyard. I was raised in my days, sugarcane fields. Today, a little bit up north from where you guys went, there was another project that was done a few years ago with oak trees and cypress trees. And when I walk through those oak trees and cypress trees today, it gives me the chills to see what we have accomplished in a short amount of time, you know? And we need to get the people on board. You know, I mean, we got people that fight each other. The Cajuns fight each other. Some people want, you know, they want to go crabbing, they want to go shrimping, they want to go oystering. But, you know, if we just keep letting our lands and our marshes and all just deteriorate and wash away, there won't be a place to fish and crab and shrimp. So, I mean, we have to draw a line in the sand, or, you know, what we got to do to keep the Cajun culture here and the people in Terrebonne Parish and in Lafourche Parish to be able to live where they want to live. Right now is the first time in history that we have right down the street right here in Ile-Jean-Charles where we having to move a whole community out. And I can see it in the future if we don't come together to stop saltwater intrusion and stop coastal erosion. I'll be next, you know, because I'm right there on the front lines of it, you know. So, you know, I appreciate companies like RES, BHP for coming out here and doing what they have to do to try to sustain our livelihood, you know, because I don't see one person I know in here from down the bayous, you know what I mean? And there should be a lot of people down here coming here because they should be interested in what's going to happen not only with themselves, but themselves and their kids, you know. The Cajun heritage is starting to walk away because people out younger than me don't know how to speak French. I was lucky enough to be able to listen to my parents, and I mean, they were good old Cajuns, you know, and a place where, not far from where you guys just went and toured, maybe about a mile south of that. My grandma passed away a few years ago, and she told me, you see right here across the bayou, she said, when I was a kid in 1926, they had a hurricane. She said, back here was all cotton fields and sweet potato fields. She said, when the water came, it was a bad storm hurricane in 1926. And you could just see barely the cotton tops of the water that came, but that was the first time in history that had ever occurred. And in my lifetime, I don't know if y'all familiar, there's Cocodrie, there's Robinson Canal, Boudreaux Canal, and Chauvin coming up the bayou from the north, you know, from south coming north. And when I was a young kid growing up, 10, 12 years old, a storm would come, and, you know, we'd say, man, we feel sorry for the poor people in Cocodrie, Louisiana, because they're flooding, you know. And then it went on, and a couple of years later, we had another storm. And 10 miles further up the road, man, the poor people of Robinson Canal, they're flooding. But nobody ever said anything about coastal erosion, land washing away, anything else. Then 10, 12 years later, it said Boudreaux Canal. It said the steps of Chauvin, Louisiana. And we're saying, God, the poor people, you know, down there, what are they going to do? Well, guess what? Hurricane Juan came. Hurricane Ike came. They all came. Gustav came. Andrew came. And guess what? They're in my hometown now, you know. And a couple of years ago, about 10 years ago, we had a storm, and guess what? That was water in the city limits of Houma, Louisiana from a hurricane. So we have to do whatever we got to do, you know. BHP, Res, I mean, they gave me this thing to read right here, but I'm not even going to read this. But let me tell y'all, the people that really love to live in South Louisiana where we live, we appreciate everything that Res does. We appreciate everything that BHP does. And listen, we appreciate the taxpayers of Terrebonne Parish, because if y'all might not know this, but a few years ago, we passed a 1/4-cent sales tax to build a Bubba Dove floodgate on the ship channel, you know, and that was a hard tax to pass. But the people seen that with that 1/4-cent sales tax that we passed, that, man, maybe if we gave a little bit more, we could do a little bit more. So about 10, 12 years ago, no, not 10, 12, but I was just a fresh councilman at that time, maybe 6 years ago. They came up to us and said, you know, we need another 1/2-cent sales tax. How are we going to sell this to the people? Well, guess what? These projects that everybody's doing, it sold itself to the people. We came back and passed a 1/2-cent sales tax by 80%. The community I live, 81%. Have you ever heard of a sales tax passing by 80 to 81%, you know? So, you know, whatever you guys do, we appreciate what y'all do. We love it. And let me tell you, there's nobody that loves South Louisiana more than Dirk Guidry. So thank y'all.
As part of this project, we will be coming back to have an adaptation leadership forum here, where we invite folks from the surrounding areas and the 5 bayous to make sure that we're all working together. You're right. I mean, when we grew up, the 5 bayous had different opinions about everything. And so now we're looking forward to coming back. It'll be sometime in the summer that we meet and call everybody together. And our view is not to look forward forever. Our view is a generational view. How many more generations can live comfortably and have a quality of life and know that they're going to be safe for that, at least that next generation? So that's where we are. We'll invite you and other of your colleagues to that event and ask you to help us populate the event with some folks from the area here. And we very much appreciate it. The Director of Policy for CPRA, the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority, is Charles Sutcliffe. He's representing CPRA in the Governor's Office. And Charles, thanks for making the trip from Baton Rouge, and I hope it's worth it. Thank you very much.
Hey, before he goes on, thank y'all CPRA, because they all have helped us out tremendously.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And that my coming from Baton Rouge explains my overdressedness for the occasion. The tie and the jacket are in the car, and here I am. But so since I am representing the state, I do think that I first need to stop and thank Sydney and Val for all their leadership on coastal issues over the years. Sydney, of course, was at the helm when the state really began to unify its effort to this approach to the coastal problem. And so many of the successes we're experiencing today are because of that early leadership. And Val, too, has been pushing this issue since the days when he was working in the Senate, and we appreciate all that you guys have done. Unfortunately, you know, what was true back then is still true today, and that's that the needs of coastal Louisiana are immense. We're working against, you know, natural processes and historic human actions that have created a crisis for us here. And because of the scale of the problem, we know that there are needs that go beyond what the master plan can do alone. So our focus at the state has been in bigger and bigger projects, but that doesn't mean that smaller projects like this aren't going to have a real impact here on the ground. And so I'm really happy to be able to be here today to support and promote strategic local scale projects like this, because it complements our larger work at the state in the master plan, but it's also going to really fill a need right here in Terrebonne. So I'm also extremely happy, as everyone's mentioned earlier today, to support instances like this where communities can benefit from a partnership like this between NGOs like America's Wetland and the private sector with RES and BHP. Obviously, the more cooperation, the more resources we can add to the project of protecting and restoring the coast, the better. So I hope what we're seeing here today, I hope others are watching, and I hope others follow suit. Thanks.
Thank you, Charles. We appreciate you coming. I've mentioned different partners, and not strange bedfellows, but maybe partners that had not been together before. And the Rotary organization is one that has chapters everywhere and clubs everywhere. And we really are extremely excited about our relationship with Rotary. The past year, a new Rotary Club was formed called Rotary Coastal. And they've had a wonderful set of programs. These are online, and you can go and listen to them and join that chapter. It's sort of a universal chapter, and we're very, very, very pleased that America's Wetland is a partner with Rotary Coastal. I'd also like to say that they have offered to help us with volunteers when we have projects like this going forward. And that civic action, I think, does as much to educate people and to help at the voting booth, Dirk, when people do go to vote. Once they've planted a tree, they're going to vote to make sure that tree doesn't die. And we know that from our past associations. We're also pleased to have the president of Nicholls State University with us today. We're going to meet tomorrow and talk about some of his students being part of that volunteer force and getting Nicholls to have a stronger activity with the Rotarians and with the foundation and with our sponsors today. It's a wonderful regional opportunity for us. Here representing Rotary Coastal is Philip Zimmerman, and we very much appreciate you being a part of this today, Philip.
Thank you, Val. I'm here today representing one of Rotary's newest clubs, Rotary Coastal. And many of its founding members are here from South Louisiana, but we're also expanding and welcoming new members from other coastal regions. As a community service organization, we are proud to join the America's Wetland Foundation as they pursue private sector projects for coastal restoration. Our mission is simple. As Rotarians, we are committed to service above self, but with a special focus on the complex and urgent issues of coastal restoration. That's why we formed the club, was to address just these needs right here. In only the past year, our online speaker series has drawn presentations from some of the most noted leaders in the fight against coastal land loss. erotarycoastal.org. Go there and just look up our meetings in the past, and we have those meetings online. From this position of deeper knowledge about the challenges our communities face, we are now preparing outreach to Rotarians across the coast. And if you know anything about our clubs, they strive hard to be engaged with serving communities. Rotarians, we're 1.2 million Rotarians worldwide, 32,000 clubs. We have 30 of them in South Louisiana, so we're focused on this. We also enjoy the active participation where needs are present, and we hope to add to the volunteer pool that will plant a new offensive line of hardy bald cypress trees. Our international president, Ian Risley, is from Australia, and his focus this year is planting trees worldwide for biodiversity. Look around. We are in a perfect spot to meet that aspiration, wouldn't you say? And what a coincidence that BHP's world headquarters is in Australia. Yeah, it gives me chills to even think about that. So Rotary is in. We want to sustain our communities, make them resilient and ready to adapt to the changes we face. We know that the world is always changing. We want to be on the front lines of adaptation because it is there that most services can be rendered to make sure that generations in the future can be secure in their future. Finally, thanks to the America's Wetland Foundation for the vision and positive strides made to bring the world to our issue, wetlands values. To BHP, you have invested in our community in a very important way, and we are grateful. And to RES, you are a valuable part of this community. And your research and innovative solutions hold the key to whether we can be a model for coastal communities worldwide. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Very much appreciated. To wrap this up, and then we'll take questions. Charles mentioned that Sidney Coffey was the first director of CPRA in the Governor's Office of Coastal Affairs, and it was a wild time when this was all getting started. It was before Hurricane Katrina, and Sidney was really an amazing person in a swivel chair who was answering phones, responding to the governor, trying to consolidate departments in state government, which is any of you who know state government, how much fun that was. So she's earned her stripes as a new administration took hold, and she worked for two. She worked for Governor Foster and for Governor Blanco. When the new administration came on, she moved over as senior advisor to the America's Wetland Foundation. She's been a wonderful partner, and she's going to close out, and then we'll take questions. Sidney, please.
Thank you, Val. I'm what's called cleanup at the end, right? But honestly, there's not much to clean up. Everything good has been said. I think some of the things that I want to just reiterate and point out is how excited I am personally for being part of this. You know, America's Wetland, when we first got started, our main goal, and it has been ever since, is to bring all the coastal interests together. We really wanted everybody at the table. We wanted the oil companies at the table. We wanted the communities at the table. We wanted government agencies at the table. We wanted the NGOs there. We wanted private businesses, private interests to come and help us to work together and solve problems, find solutions, take actions. So we've been out there yapping as America's Wetland for a long time, and I'm happy that we did. I think it took us far. But now we're actually, the reason I'm so excited is we're actually putting our words in action where our mouths have been. We're putting our actions where our mouths have been for so long. Berwick, I'm with you. I can't really make jokes in public. Berwick said, I want to tell a joke so bad. He said, but I've been told I'm just not funny. I think you are too, Berwick. But I wanted to reiterate that the projects that we've announced today are practical. They're common sense, good projects that will work. We know they will. They're proven. These projects should be replicated, and they should be replicated often. This is a great pathway for private companies to come in who work on our coast, who provide for the rest of the nation, who believe in the communities where their employees live, who can give back. We're so proud to have BHP as our partner today. We're so proud to have RES as our partner and hope to do many more projects to come. And I also want to say how important it is for all of us to continue working together. And I want to point out Restore Retreat. Simone, I know you're in here. Restore Retreat is a locally grown NGO that is doing remarkable work. And I also want to say that we're planning to do some future work together, and I hope that pans out. And I also want to compliment Charles Sutcliffe and everyone at CPRA for the incredible work you're doing. I know how hard it is and what you're doing, how complicated it is and how hard it is, especially when you're in a session and still trying to put projects on the ground. So I want to thank everyone for coming out.
I cannot encourage the private sector enough to consider new projects as the years go by, just like these, so that we can supplement the Coastal Master Plan and create real restoration for the people of South Louisiana.
So we are thrilled today to be here, and we all recognize within the CPRA that there are good and beneficial and valuable projects that are not included in the state's master plan that need to be implemented, that can complement some of the projects that we're moving forward with within the master plan. So we are very excited to see the America's Wetland Foundation and BHP and RES partner together to implement a project in an area of the state that is most impacted by coastal wetland loss, and utilizing a restoration technique that is proven throughout coastal Louisiana. So this is really a shining example of how an NGO and the private sector can partner together on a project that makes coastal Louisiana more restored, better protected, and more resilient. Because at the end of the day, we really are all in this together.
This is a great opportunity by both engaging private interests such as BHP and RES and having America's Wetlands, who's been advocating on behalf of the coast for so long, to both engage those private interests, local entities, to help protect and restore our valuable ecosystem, which is the coast of Louisiana. It provides the private interest the opportunity both to utilize their resources, but also engage the communities that they're investing in to ensure that they protect both their investment, but also the people that work for them and the communities that they serve.
As I said earlier, I grew up here, and my dad had a fishing camp in South Louisiana, so we were there all the time. And where that camp existed no longer exists. The land is gone, it's a giant lake, and so it's very distressing to see such large swaths of the parish disappear that I grew up in. And it's like your childhood memories are disappearing. So that an Australian company has partnered with America's Wetlands Foundation, that's partnered with the nursery here in Pointe-aux-Chenes, is important, and it's heart-lifting, really.
The commitment to sustainability, the local communities in which we operate, making sure we're giving back and putting biodiversity in the communities and the environment in which we operate first is really critical to us as a company. Our workers live in this area, and it means a lot to us to be able to give back.
We are a Rotary Club, part of Rotary International District 6200, and our primary focus is on coastal issues, those things that affect coastal residents and their properties and the businesses that are there as well. And so we're a service-based organization. Service above self is the Rotarians' motto, I guess. And so we're here to serve our communities and their residents. And so we see this program as being something where we can participate in the helping of the planting of the bald cypress, as well as maybe some of the community activities associated with the event once it gets started.
This means everything to us. Nichols is the closest university to the coast. We have huge programs in marine biology. We have our own forum where we plant coastal restoration plans, and we see the coast as our future.
We have a really great coast. We have a lot of efforts underway to protect and restore it, and every little bit helps, and we're grateful that this is happening.
I tell you what, I'm especially excited today because America's Wetland has been known as a strong advocate of social issues. And we have been a very clear voice for a very long time, but right now we're putting our actions where our mouths are. And it's really, really exciting, more exciting than I even dreamed it would be, that we're actually putting projects in the ground. This is a good day.
What does the future hold for this particular program? Where do you see it in 10 years?
Well, I think what we're going to see is something called corporate social responsibility. And what we're seeing is corporations today are really concerned about our environment, and they're doing everything they can to create sustainability. And as you know, our Louisiana coast really needs that attention. And it's great to see a company like BHP out here moving and being the leader of this. And we want to see more companies do this.
If people want to find out more about this program, how can they, if they want to volunteer, if they want to know more about the program, what's the best resource for them?
Well, the AmericasWetlandFoundation.com or .org is a site where you can go always to find out information. And we will be updating this project with news stories as we plant some of the plants that you see here and have update stories that we bring to the public.